On December 15, 2017, the bodies of Barry and Honey Sherman were discovered in the basement pool room of their Toronto mansion. The scene was deeply unsettling. The couple was found side by side, their necks bound to the metal railing surrounding the pool with black leather belts. In the days following, the murders quickly gained national attention due to Barry Sherman's status. As founder of the pharmaceutical giant Apotex, he was one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in all of Canada. At the start of the investigation, police treated the case as a possible murder-suicide, primarily because there were no signs of forced entry and all the doors to the home were locked. However, autopsy results later revealed that both Barry and Honey had died from ligature strangulation, ruling out the possibility of a murder-suicide. This revelation raised a disturbing question: how did the killer get inside? With no evidence of a break-in, investigators theorized that either the Shermans knew their killer or that the perpetrator gave a convincing reason to be let in. But given that the murders occurred late at night, it's difficult to imagine what could have been said to persuade them to open the door. In the years following the bizarre murders, Toronto police publicly stated on multiple occasions that they had identified several people of interest and pursued dozens of leads. However, no arrests were ever made, and no individual was ever formally named or charged in connection with the case. The only piece of evidence ever released to the public was a brief clip of a man captured on a neighbor's security camera. This footage was released to the public in December 2021, 4 years after the murders. While the video doesn't provide concrete proof, investigators noted that the man seen in the clip was walking away from the Sherman residence shortly after the estimated time of the killings. Although it's possible he was simply a passerby, the timing and proximity to the home make that explanation seem highly unlikely. The idea that this brief, grainy clip may be the only clue to such a brutal double murder nearly a decade later is chilling. What makes the footage even more unsettling is the fact that the individual has never been identified and may still be walking among us. On April 28, 2000, 22-year-old Russian diving instructor Yuri Lipski was near the city of Dahab, Egypt, preparing for a technical dive at an infamous site known as the Blue Hole. This dive site had a deadly reputation, with an estimated 130 to 200 fatalities having occurred there in recent years. Despite its dangers, however, Lipski was confident, as he was already an experienced diver, even at his young age. That day, Lipski entered the water with a camera, intending to document the dive. At first, everything appeared to be going well until the situation took a deadly turn. As Lipski drifts away from his team, he begins descending far faster than he had anticipated. The camera's audio captures his growing panic as he plummets into the depths of the Blue Hole, eventually sinking over 350 feet. In a final attempt to ascend, he tried to activate his buoyancy control device, but it malfunctioned and failed to lift him. In the last seconds of the video, the camera remained still, pointed in one direction, an eerie indication that Lipski was no longer moving. Yuri Lipski's body was recovered the following day by professional deep-water diver Tarek Omar, who also retrieved his equipment and returned it to Lipski's mother. Since the camera was only rated for depths up to 250 feet and was found well over 100 feet deeper than that, Omar assumed it would be damaged beyond use. To his surprise, however, it was still functional and able to record video. Omar reviewed the footage alongside Lipski's mother, neither of them realizing that the camera had captured the entire fatal dive, from the surface all the way to the moment he lost his life. In a tragic and haunting twist, Yuri Lipski's own mother became one of the first people to witness the now infamous video of his fatal descent into the blue hole. In the years following Yuri Lipski's death, the footage of his final dive gained international attention, amassing over 9 million views on YouTube alone. While point-of-view footage capturing one's own death is exceptionally rare, there's something uniquely haunting about Lipski's recording. Watching him alone, in near total darkness, at the bottom of a notorious dive site where many had perished before, is deeply unsettling. The thought of him lying there, motionless, slowly running out of air, is absolutely terrifying. On March 15, 2025, the largest protest in Serbia's history took place in the capital city of Belgrade. Videos captured that night show the staggering scale of the demonstration, with monitors estimating that over 300,000 people had gathered to protest the government. While the sheer size of the protest made waves around the world, it wasn't the crowd's size that was most remarkable, but what occurred during the event. As protesters filled the streets, they suddenly began to scatter in all directions, as if fleeing from something. Yet strangely, there was nothing visible that would have caused such panic. Here is another angle of the incident. In the days following the protest, videos showing the crowd suddenly scattering without any visible cause quickly went viral across social media. Many found the footage both bizarre and unsettling. Soon after, a theory emerged about what may have triggered the panic. According to testimonials from several protesters reported by news outlets, people in the crowd felt as if an invisible force had descended on them. One protester described hearing a powerful acoustic blast, followed by a wave of heat, while another likened the sound to a massive stone crashing down from the sky. Serbian media outlets also reported that dozens of people sought hospital treatment the next day, suffering from symptoms like dizziness, headaches, tinnitus, and even heart problems, ailments that many believed were linked to the strange phenomenon. This fueled speculation that the government may have deployed a long-range acoustic device, a controversial sonic weapon capable of emitting targeted beams of high-intensity sound. These sonic weapons have been used by many countries for crowd control, and because the sound is highly directional, it can create confusion and fear, similar to what was seen during the Serbian protest. Despite numerous testimonies from protesters who were convinced that a sonic weapon had been used against them, the Serbian government vehemently denied any such action, although it was publicly known that Serbia had previously possessed such devices. President Aleksandar Vučić dismissed the allegations, calling the acoustic weapon theory the biggest lie. Still, many protesters remained convinced that the government was simply covering its tracks. Adding to the suspicion was the fact that officials denied the use of sonic weapons, but failed to offer any alternative explanation for the bizarre event. For many, however, the concern went beyond whether a sonic device had been used that night. The real unease stemmed from the broader implications, the possibility that governments around the world may be quietly developing or deploying unknown technologies against their own citizens. While sonic weapons have been acknowledged for years, it's the technologies we don't yet know about that are truly unsettling. On November 23, 1996, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961 departed from the capital of Ethiopia, bound for the city of Nairobi in Kenya. Tragically, however, what was meant to be a short flight of just over 2 hours would never reach its destination. 20 minutes into the flight, 3 Ethiopian men stormed the cockpit, where they took an axe and a fire extinguisher. They forced co-pilot Jonas Makuria out, leaving themselves alone with Captain Luel Abate. Over the intercom, the hijackers announced that they had a bomb and warned that the entire plane would go down if anyone interfered. They then ordered Captain Luel to fly the plane to Australia. The captain was stunned. He knew the aircraft only had enough fuel for the scheduled 2-hour flight and pleaded with the hijackers, explaining they couldn't even make it a quarter of the way to Australia. But the hijackers didn't believe him. They pointed to an in-flight magazine that stated the plane's maximum flight time was 11 hours. Luel clarified that the 11-hour range was only possible with a full fuel tank, which their plane didn't have. Still, the hijackers forced him to start heading east toward Australia. Thinking quickly, Captain Luel diverted the plane toward the Comoro Islands near the African mainland, hoping to make an emergency landing. However, before the aircraft could reach the airport, both engines failed due to lack of fuel, and the plane lost all electrical power. The following footage was captured by tourists staying at the Galawa Beach Hotel in the town of Mitsamuli. Following the crash, survivors were rushed to Mitsamuli Hospital, located less than 2 miles from the crash site. Both Captain Luel and co-pilot Makuria survived the ordeal, but 7 members of the cabin crew, along with all 3 hijackers, were killed. Of the 175 people originally on board, only 50 survived, many of them with serious injuries. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961 will forever be known as one of the worst hijackings in aviation history.